So, let's talk about mindset. We hear this word all the time, but what does it really mean? At its heart, a growth mindset is the simple, powerful belief that our abilities are not fixed. It's the idea that we can get smarter, more talented, and more capable through dedication and hard work. It's not about believing you can be anything you want to be just by wishing for it. That's not how this works. It's about understanding that effort, learning from others, and embracing challenges are the pathways to getting better. It's a belief rooted in the power of yet, as in, I don't know how to do this, yet. This isn't just a solo journey. This isn't just about you in a quiet room telling yourself you can do it. Mindset becomes truly magical when it's a shared belief. It's what happens when a whole team, a classroom, or an entire family decides to step into the arena together. When we believe that we can grow, not just I can grow, something shifts. The energy changes. We stop seeing each other as competition and start seeing each other as fellow travelers on a difficult but rewarding path. It's the collective courage to say, we don't have this figured out yet, but we'll learn together. Think about learning to ride a bike. You fall. You get scraped knees. It hurts. A fixed mindset might say, I'm just not a bike rider. I'm clumsy. But a growth mindset says, this is hard. I fell, but I'll try again. Maybe I need to adjust my balance. Now imagine you have a whole group of friends cheering you on. They aren't laughing when you fall. They're picking you up. They're holding the seat for you. They're shouting, you almost had it. Try again. That is a growth culture in action. It's not just your belief, it's a shared belief that makes the scraped knees feel a little less painful. The magic, then, isn't just in the personal mantra. It's in the shared language of possibility. It's in the quiet nods of encouragement across a meeting room table. It's in the teacher who says, this is a really tough problem, and I'm so excited to see how you all tackle it. When we build this belief into the very fabric of our groups, we give everyone permission to be human. We give them permission to be a work in progress. And that right there is where the real transformative growth begins. It's where we find the courage to be imperfect together. Our mindsets are not born in a vacuum. They are shaped, nurtured, and sometimes crushed by the environments we live in. We are all walking, talking mirrors, reflecting the expectations and beliefs of the people around us. If you're in a room where every mistake is pointed out as a failure, you learn to play it safe. You learn to hide your attempts. You learn that trying something new is risky, not because you might fail, but because of what happens when you fail. The culture around you becomes an echo chamber for a fixed mindset, whispering, don't mess up, don't look stupid. The culture we are a part of sends us constant signals about what is valued. Does our team celebrate only the wins, the perfect presentations, the flawless victories? Or does it also celebrate the brave attempt that didn't quite work? Does it make space for the beautiful mess of innovation? These signals create the rules of engagement for our own minds. If the culture values perfection, we will strive for perfection, often at the cost of our own learning and well-being. We become so afraid of dropping the ball that we never dare to juggle anything new. Think about a classroom. In one room, a teacher only calls on students who raise their hands with the right answer. The same kids get praised over and over. In another room, a teacher praises a student for asking a brave question, even if it seems simple. She says, that's such an important question. I bet a lot of us were wondering that. Which room makes you feel safer to learn? Which room invites you to be curious? The culture is the invisible curriculum that teaches us what truly matters. Getting it right the first time, or the courageous process of getting it right eventually. So we have a choice. We can either be passive recipients of the culture we're in, or we can become active architects of it. We can notice the signals being sent. We can question them. We can choose to send different signals ourselves. When someone on our team takes a risk and it doesn't pay off, we can be the first person to say, I'm so glad you tried that. What did we learn from it? That single sentence can begin to rewrite the cultural code. It can start to build a new echo chamber, one that reverberates with courage and possibility. There's a huge difference between a culture built on growth and one built on performance. A performance culture is all about the gold stars. It's about hitting the targets, acing the test, and winning the prize. The primary focus is on proving how smart or talented you are. In these environments, people are often ranked and sorted. There's a palpable fear of being at the bottom of the list. The driving question is, will I look smart? This kind of culture can create impressive short-term results, but it often does so at the expense of long-term innovation, learning, and psychological safety. In a performance culture, failure is seen as a verdict. It's a judgment on your inherent ability. So people avoid it at all costs. They stick to what they know. They choose the easy tasks where they are guaranteed to succeed. They are reluctant to ask for help because that would be an admission of weakness. Imagine an office where everyone is competing for the Employee of the Month award. They might be less likely to share helpful information with a colleague because that colleague is their rival. They are playing to win, not playing to learn. A growth culture, on the other hand, is built on a different foundation. The driving question here is not, will I look smart, but how can I get smarter? The focus is on progress, not perfection. Failure is not a verdict, it's data. It's valuable information that tells us what to try next. In this kind of culture, people are more willing to stretch themselves. They take on challenges, they collaborate, and they openly seek feedback. They understand that the goal isn't to look like you have all the answers, but to collectively find them. This isn't to say that performance doesn't matter in a growth culture. It absolutely does. The difference is the why and the how. A growth culture believes that great performance is the result of learning, stretching, and collaborating. It's the outcome of a process, not the sole purpose of it. The gold stars might still be there, but they aren't the only thing that gets celebrated. The brave effort gets celebrated. The tough lesson gets celebrated. The vulnerability of saying, I need help, gets celebrated. And that changes everything. Leadership is the lever that can shift an entire culture from fixed to growth. But it requires a specific kind of leadership. It requires leaders who are willing to be vulnerable first. It requires leaders who lead with open hands, not with clenched fists. A leader who pretends to have all the answers creates a culture of followers who are afraid to ask questions. A leader who is brave enough to say, I don't know, but let's figure it out together, gives everyone else permission to be a learner too. This kind of leadership is about creating psychological safety. That's a big term for a simple human need. The need to feel safe enough to take interpersonal risks. It's the safety to speak up with a half-baked idea. The safety to disagree respectfully with your boss. The safety to admit you made a mistake without fear of humiliation or punishment. When a leader models this, by admitting their own mistakes, by asking for feedback, by celebrating smart failures, they are laying the groundwork for a culture of growth. They are saying, your humanity is welcome here. So what does this look like in practice? It looks like a manager starting a meeting by sharing something they learned from a recent failure. It looks like a team lead praising the effort and strategy behind a project that ultimately missed its target. It looks like asking questions like, what can we learn from this? Instead of whose fault is this? These aren't grand, sweeping gestures. They are small, consistent acts of courage that, over time, accumulate to build a foundation of trust. It's about rewarding the effort, not just the outcome. Ultimately, building a growth culture is an act of daring leadership that belongs to everyone, not just the person with the title. We can all be leaders in this way. We can all choose to respond to a colleague's setback with curiosity instead of judgment. We can all celebrate the process, not just the win. We can all choose to create pockets of safety where people can show up, be seen, and grow. Because when we build environments where everyone feels safe enough to learn, we don't just unlock individual potential. We unlock our collective magic.